is in sunny San Diego, California. It's the Big Biz Show, 110 million broadcast homes strong, thanks to Biz Television Network. 150 radio stations across the country, thanks to Biz Talk Radio Network, as well as iHeartRadio. And then, of course, we're internationally on radio on American Forces Radio Network in 175 countries and all the ships at sea. Great to have you along today. Yes, we're radio and TV at the same time. And there's the day trader Quattro playing a little something for us. There you go. Good to have you. So we got an email from one of you across the country watching us on television saying that we had to talk to a company by the name of Hillstream Biopharma. So Mike started digging and personally did absolutely nothing to get this person on the air. But let's introduce him either way. Take it away.
He's the CEO, chairman of Hillstream Biopharma Board of Directors. He's one of those guys we love helping battle drug-resistant cancers.
There we go.
Let's say hello to Mr. Randy Milby.
There he is. Randy, how are you, sir? Great to see you. You didn't know what you were getting.
Thank you.
You didn't know what you were getting into, did you? When they talked you into this whole deal, they said,
I was warned in advance.
Yeah. Don't you love how he said, I was warned in advance, not briefed in advance.
Warned.
No, it was a full warning. Hey, great to have you, sir.
Thank you.
Let me say once again, their stock symbol HILS. They are a publicly traded company. Hillstream Biopharma. You can go to hillstreambio.com. That's and our TV audience there is looking at our website. For our radio audience, we'll go ahead and put this interview up on our website, bigbizshow.com. You can see it all there and catch it. But you are targeting drug-resistant cancers. Why don't you tell us from the top down what that means? Because we may be broadcasting worldwide and nationwide here every weeknight, but here in San Diego, where we broadcast from, we are a cancer center with everything from immunotherapies to other drug therapies. But I don't think I've heard much about drug-resistant cancer. So talk about that a little bit for you.
Well, first of all, thanks for having me on the show. I really appreciate sharing the message. So we're tackling, as you said, one of the biggest challenges in cancer treatment today, which is this drug resistance. And I want to share a thought with you from Dr. Steven Rosenberg from the National Cancer Institute, because I think this puts everything in perspective. He states that only 7% of patients with cancer are cured today.
What?
And that's by surgical removal.
Wow. 93%
of the patients will relapse, and they're never cured, and they ultimately die as a result of these drug-resistant cancer cells. And that's what we're at the forefront of an emerging mechanism of action, which you saw. It's called ferroptosis. And it's been shown that these drug-resistant cancer cells are especially sensitive to killing by drugs that induce ferroptosis.
So
this is a great new approach.
So hang on a second. So ferroptosis is what? Is that the thing that we're trying to kill, or is that the resistance category? What does that mean?
Ferroptosis is iron-mediated cell death. So we're killing what these cancer cells are addicted to iron. So what we do is our drug goes inside this cancer cell, sops it up, deprives those cancer cells of that iron, and the cancer cell dies.
So what's interesting here is when we start hearing about therapies for cancer, I keep on hearing about new, novel therapies. I don't think I've heard of this one before. So there's two things here. First of all, it's proprietary to you folks there at Hillstream, but it's also sort of a different animal here, and that's probably why we haven't heard about it. Talk to us about the difference between what you guys are doing and what exists today.
Well, part of it is, and we have let me give you a little history of the company. So previously, when I was the CEO of another publicly traded company, I was trying to broaden the pipeline. So I was introduced to a Dana-Farber Cancer Institute spinout that had this novel drug delivery technology, which we've labeled as the Quattromer. We were advancing it at the other company, came back positive. Unfortunately, about that time, my brother was diagnosed with multiple myeloma. So I started Hillstream to take this drug delivery technology and advance it into the oncology space. So it's novel because we're using this novel delivery mechanism, but we're also using a drug that sops up the iron, like I mentioned, and kills these drug-resistant cancer cells.
Hey, Randy, where are you in the arc of the FDA story here? Let's talk about that, because we've got all of this giant audience listening to you, and I can tell you the one thing in the back of many of them, unfortunately, is how do I get a hold of this, and how soon is there a compassionate care sort of lane there? Are you down the road to where we're in any of the many phases of FDA? Talk about that for a second.
Well, we're not as far down the road as I'd like to be. So where we are right now is we're doing the maximum tolerated dose and 28-day toxicity. As you know, that leads us into submitting a request for an IND. And once we get the IND, then we can go into man. So right now, the way it's planned is that we would submit the request for the IND, and if we have the wind at our back, have first patient in by year end.
And we're talking about solid tumors here, correct? Or are we talking about more maladies involved?
Oh, solid tumors. The phase 1 study, you're correct. The phase 1 study will be solid tumors, all comers.
If we think in terms of, and just for the Johnny Lunch buckets like me out there that don't understand, when you've got chemotherapy, radiation therapy, immunotherapy, is this a fourth category or is this part of those?
Well, it's a fourth category in the sense that if you're talking about apoptosis, necrosis, ferroptosis is a new area of interest. And just to give you a perspective of where ferroptosis is, 5 to 6 years ago, there were maybe a couple of hundred papers written about ferroptosis. But in the last 2 years alone, as we counted up, there were over 10,000 papers.
Wow.
So is it a new category? I think it's growing into be a new category, and it's going to be, as you know, cancer therapy is used in combination. We think we'll get it through the FDA for one indication first, but ultimately it's going to be used in combination with other drugs.
So Randy, these quattrobodies you talk about, increases drug payload, the way I read about it on your website. Does that mean there's also an infrastructure potentially for other cancer treatments?
Bingo.
Wow.
So one of the things we're looking at right now is, as you saw on the website, we can put one agent, one small molecule, which is HSP-1216, inside the quattromer. But you also saw HSP-888. That's 2 small molecules inside the quattromer. And the slide that you're showing, just to describe the mechanism, this is an IV administration, and you see over on the left-hand side, it's taken up by that cancer cell. So it gets taken up inside the cancer cell by the leaky blood vasculature of the cancer. As I mentioned, they take in a lot of blood. They're gluttons. They're addicted to blood, the iron that's in the blood. So this gets taken up inside the cancer. What's unique about it, it gets taken up then by the garbage disposal inside the cancer cell, which is what they call the lysosome. That acidity breaks down the quattromer, breaks down that microparticle, releases the drug inside the cancer cell. The other thing that's novel about this is you see that it says PGP inhibitor or paloxamine.
Yeah, right down the middle of the bottom. Sure.
Exactly. What that does, the cancer cell wants to get rid of these bad actors that come inside. So they have it's called a drug efflux pump, which I say it just spits them out, spits out this drug. What that does, that paloxamine, it actually closes the door. It shuts down that drug efflux pump. So what does that mean? It means you have less drug going out in the circulation. Therefore, on the right-hand side of that slide, it showed less toxicity and longer half-life.
Randy Milby, CEO, Chairman, Hillstream Biopharma, stock symbol HILS. You have to come back with us. That was literally the best explanation of how this stuff works. And by the way, you go to hillstreambio.com. Once again, HILS. Randy, you're coming back, pal. Thank you so much.
Unbelievable.
No, I would have that guy for now.
Yeah.
All right, that does it for us. Big Biz Show, bigbizshow.com.